So we need to behave. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
We usually yell steady up, that's what.
Steady up.
Steady up.
Okay,
When they had a teacher in there.
I could use that. Then the next one,
And mine is loading it.
the next sergeant. I'll
Like,
take
good,
my
there, you
own.
can't tell me about that.
Are you in tomorrow, Lori?
Well, I ordered, she comes over.
Just wondering about Logan's security. Did Wes talk to you about that? Just to get him for the keypad? We still don't have him set up for that.
On the
Oh,
entry to the
no,
building.
you're right, I didn't set him up for that. Okay, well, I think the information that I sent to him said to come and see me for that.
Oh, okay. I'll
So
send him
he
in
can
now.
come in and give me his access code and I can set him up. But yeah, I'm here this week and then gone.
We thought you were just using our employee numbers.
Sorry?
I thought you just used our employee numbers for that.
Well, I let everybody pick, when we started, we did that. And then I let everybody pick their own now so that they can remember it.
Because they struggle
I remember
sometimes
my
to find
employee number
members
first.
at large who are connected to.
I'll send him in to talk to you.
Yeah,
What was it, 2-day training?
you know, it is a security system.
Yeah, I think it was 2 days.
I get it.
Just when it's hot in the
Yeah, it was 2 days. Yeah, we wrote the exam in the second.
I don't know if it's something that changes
I
our.
thought we wrote the exam. the roll.
Still busy?
Yeah, it's been up and down. Our domestics and our
Oh, yeah, we did, yeah.
personal
we-
crimes.
Yeah, it was
Fentanyl users in town.
right, we could go in and look at it.
What do you attribute
Go
that
through
to?
it.
Maybe now
That's
something.
what I got on it.
That opened my test.
I phoned him and asked him.
It's the
And then he got a higher mark than I did.
demographic.
I want one day where we take off that big sweeping pad on just.
Yeah. I just got one.
Lots of
phone.
domestics, lots of
I'm
personal
not-
crimes,
I'm not
so
the chairman of this.
lots of purchases.
Don't say too much or he might.
Well, I think we should do one thing.
I just was reading.
Yeah.
Miller just is joining this group now. They were on their own.
Or they.
And so
We
they're
had one
gonna-
yesterday.
they haven't trained.
The second time it came
I'm
down.
at 55, he got a cigarette started in a ditch.
It might make it easier. to find-
Well, yeah,
Don't
like,
think we
like,
went
I
out.
don't mind getting into it, like, if, you know, if it's a damn stuff. So I could participate in, but if you don't use it now for a year or something, then it's gone again, I just. you know.
There's one that keeps reoccurring by Big Stone.
So.
Like keeps flaring up, like it keeps flaring up on the guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like it's a hot spot.
Yeah.
Okay, I have 6.
I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you.
So we will call this meeting to order. You're alive, right? We are alive.
We are
Yeah, I
alive.
figured you said that. So with that, I would entertain the agenda is presented. Thank you, Councilor Olson. All in favor? And that is carried. That takes us right to our delegations, and we have Sergeant Spurley here to give us a report on the Hanna RCMP happenings, I guess we'll call it. So welcome, and I'll just turn the floor over to you.
Thanks, Mayor, Council. So I'll just refer to the quarterly document that we sent out. Has everybody had a chance to kind of review the document? So the number one priority in Hanna right now is the disruption of drug trafficking, and specifically the fentanyl trafficking. There's been a certain core group of people that have been coming to Hanna over the last several months. And we're seeing a very significant increase in fentanyl trafficking. We're seeing, as you guys have heard, a significant increase in overdoses. We haven't had one for quite a while now, knock on wood. And we're also now starting to see a significant increase in domestics and persons crimes, assaults, and it's all amongst each other. So we're definitely seeing a spike as a result of the fentanyl. So the fentanyl trafficking is our number one priority. We did do a search warrant this year, and we stopped that trafficking completely, shut it down. And you know, the analogy I use, it's like the gopher game at the fair. It's you trying to hit the gopher on the head, and the gopher goes down one hole and pops up another one. That's exactly what's happened. So the gophers come up another hole now, and we're working on it. I expect to see more results in the near future, and when that gopher goes down the hole, we'll go after the next one that comes up. Once we do address that fentanyl trafficking, and we do start to get a handle on that, we should see a decrease in the persons crime and the breaches. We're seeing a lot of breaches right now, and the domestics should decrease in the statistics. When fentanyl trafficking comes in, that core group of people comes in, and all that type of crime just follows right behind. So that is our primary goal for this fiscal. And I've put one member specifically on his job full-time is nothing but to work to disrupt the fentanyl trafficking. I was going to put a second one in, but with transfers coming up, that'll really shorten the detachment. So we will leave it as one. He's working closely with the Drumheller crime reduction member. We share very similar people between the two detachment members. So they're doing a really, really good job right now. So I expect great things from them in the near future, and I expect they're going to continue to hammer some doors here. So, targeted traffic enforcement. In the stats, I think it says we've increased by about 135%, and that is legit. A lot of that has been written in the town of Hanna with regards to manner of driving. A lot of it is stop signs. The majority of it, I think, is stop signs. Some of it's speeding, and then probably down at the lower end is the stunting. And I know this came up as an issue recently with council, and there may have been a message that's been given across to people that we're dealing with roadside that may be a little bit misleading and putting a lot of the onus on mayor and council. And I definitely apologize for that, and I will correct that in the future. It's when it comes to enforcement, that's 100% our job. Obviously, with community engagement, stuff like that, we speak to our stakeholders and we speak to the community, and we try to figure out what they want us to do. And we definitely use that as part of our guidance, whatever you want to call it. But definitely, if that message is getting out there a little bit mixed up, we're definitely going to correct that. And I haven't been able to find any member that's said anything close to what was portrayed to me. But I will make sure that it's very clear to the members that in the future, the enforcement it falls on us. That's our duty to do that. So I do apologize to Mayor and Council for any conflict that may have arose from that, and I will get it addressed. We have pulled back a little bit in Hanna, and we've rediverted one resource out to Youngstown. Youngstown has been complaining a lot about some of the speeding out there, so we did divert a resource out there, and we do have a speed trailer out there as well. So we're going to get some traffic out there. The amount of traffic out there is pretty small, so I think it's going to be a pretty boring job. We may end up having them back pretty quick, but we'll see what we can do out there. So as far as traffic enforcement goes in the town of Hanna, it's still status quo. If we see the offenses, whether it's stunting, speeding, no driver's license, it's going to get enforced, regardless of what anybody's might think of that particular law. So that falls upon us, and discretion is something that we can use. But if it's enforcement that the member chooses, that's what they choose to use. So the second speed trailer we still have in Hanna here. I think we're going to move it back to the pool area. And we'll just do the opposite side, the opposite traffic. So we'll get southbound traffic now as opposed to the northbound. One thing that was brought up, Kim and I were talking, is, perhaps with that water park, there should be a speed zone along that section as well. And,
We think I can't remember if we went out and looked, but I thought the conversation around the table was that we thought that entire block, maybe it needs to be, maybe we need to look at the signage more
maybe.
careful to make sure, but the expectation kind of was around that whole block was a playground zone.
Yeah.
Coming from the west to the east, there's no signage there.
Once you turn from your corner there, just south of the arena there.
Yeah.
There is one further down by the lodge.
Right.
So yeah, I guess maybe we have to put one on that corner.
Catch the people that are turning into it. And I live right across the street from there, and that spray park is amazing. And it attracts a lot of people, and there's a lot of traffic in there, and they're having a blast. So,
and they're using, a lot of the traffic is using a lot of the people are using the on-street parking too. So kids are getting in and out of the vehicle on the street.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
That's the same as that playground by my place, the same thing. There's not enough signage for it. I think that's the biggest problem with them working by there, because they go by their terrific speed.
and certainly that falls into an enforcement aspect. And Kim and I discussed this as well. Built into law, just naturally, it's called natural or general deterrence. And what that means is if there's a risk of getting caught and there's a bite to getting caught, most of the people won't commit the offense, right? But if that risk isn't there, and even if the risk is there, there isn't a bite, the general deterrence goes away. And the biggest example you can give is general average speeds on the highway. The average speed on Highway 9 is probably 125, 120, 125, somewhere in there. Yeah. I'm betting that the average speed on 570 is probably around that 140, 150. And that's because the general deterrence of getting caught and getting bit is not there. So general deterrence that's built into law, there has to be enforcement. Somebody has to get bit and other people have to see that somebody got bit. And once people see that somebody got bit and how bad they got bit, that kind of scatters across everybody, and that's where the general deterrence comes in. So that could be an issue of we're not doing enough enforcement up there. And I know that members do go up there, and I know they try to get all the areas they can, but again, it's the gopher game, right? You go here and they're over here, go over here and they're over there. So not an excuse, but I've heard complaints up there repeatedly. We'll definitely get some more enforcement up there as far as the speeding and manual driving go. I think that's all I have for traffic. I have to say shout out to RCMP Traffic Services and specifically the sheriffs and special areas. They've done a phenomenal job with coming out and helping us within the town of Hanna, helping us with JFOs and things like that. So, and out in the construction zones and whatnot. So they've been a huge critical part of traffic safety on the highways this year. Crime reduction, frauds, and theft. We're actually doing really good there. There was a time where people were getting caught on these scams, the CRA scams and things like that, fairly often for a significant amount of money. We're seeing more now. People are coming to us and saying, hey, this person tried to scam me. This person tried to scam me. We've had one very significant fraud. It was to the tune of about $10,000 this year. So, but other than that, everybody else seems to be getting the message from the media releases and the public awareness releases that we do. And we're seeing a reduce in the frauds especially. Thefts really haven't been a big deal around our area, other than in Youngstown a month ago, I think it was. They had a rash of thefts and they hit probably half a dozen places and stole, out of vehicles. They stole out of unlocked abandoned buildings and things like that. So they came, they did their thing, and then they left. And I'm still not convinced it wasn't a local thing, just because of the MO and how it was carried out. But frauds and thefts, I think we're doing really good. We're doing great with copper thefts, and then we had one crop up here 2 weeks ago. And the person we believe to have done it has been arrested now on something else, and we're still investigating that. So again, that's dropped off. So we're actually doing really good out in the rural area as far as the thefts go. I'll come back to the trafficking. By far, the biggest problem in town right now is the fentanyl trafficking. It's really attracting a core group of people that we don't want in Hanna, and as a result of it, the crime, the person's crimes, thefts will start to increase in Hanna, domestics and things like that, and the overdoses are going to continue to rise unless we really limit that. So next quarter, I'll have a better idea of how that's going, and I'll either present it or the sergeant at our Brooks will present it to you guys. But we'll hopefully be able to see a good chunk of that kind of hammered out and things slowing down a little bit. Criminal code offenses. One thing in the quarterly report that you might find unusual is, although we're seeing an increase in property crime, it's not necessarily an actual increase as much as it is. We have seen an increase a little bit, and that's due to the fentanyl group that's coming to town. But when we score files, we can score them as a break and enter, suspicious persons and things like that. And we try to score them as what the person calls it in as. So, but sometimes the members are in a hurry and they'll just go to the easy fallbacks, and that tends to be suspicious persons, which doesn't give any credit for anything. they may get called out to, somebody might call and say, hey, I think these guys are breaking into this farm. The members will fly out there, they'll do an investigation, they'll deal with the people, figure out that they're not stealing anything, they stopped for a pee or whatever happened, right? It turns out to be nothing, they're scored as a suspicious person. Well, that isn't what they investigated. They actually investigated a breaking in. So for numbers of, for complement at the detachment, numbers of constables that you have, it's important that they get accurate numbers of what they're investigating. Whether they found that that was a legit breaking in or not, they need to know that the funds being spent on it. And that's where they draw their numbers from to delegate the numbers of members to the detachments. So I've been going through the files a little bit harder, and I've been making sure that I read what's actually called in and I'm rescoring it as that. And I'm changing a lot of files that are suspicious person or suspicious vehicle into an actual criminal offense unfounded. But that will still show up on there as an investigation, criminal investigation by the members. So you may see an increase. It's not as drastic as what it shows on there. There is definitely an increase, but it's not that much. So it does better when the RCMP comes back and says, hey, we got to see how many members are at this detachment. And they do this much work. They investigate these kinds of files. They might need one more member in the future. So I think that's all I've got.
Any questions?
So, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I always seem to forget, Trent, but the crime statistics that you present are for the detachment area, not specifically the town of Hanna.
That is correct. And
Okay.
I think we're working on, I think we may have a successful way of actually narrowing down on Hanna stuff. And we can, it's called an atom in our file system. And Angela's working on it right now. And we may be able to pull stats that are specific to the town of Hanna. So that might prove a lot more valuable in the future.
The other question, and it's not as part of your report, but you had mentioned in an email to me recently about victim services. Is there any update to that?
There is. So Drumheller has victim services running again. I'm not sure how they have it running or who's running it, but they do have something up and running. I've reached out to the detachment commander there. He confirmed that they do have something running, and as such, I've gone to our RCMP victim services coordinator and I said, look, they do have something running. Can we piggyback off that? So they're looking into that now to see how it's actually working and if we can piggyback off of it. And as soon as I hear back, I'll let you guys know for sure. It'd be nice if we get that service going. And is there any curiosity about the transfers and stuff coming up, how that's going to work?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. Okay. So where are we at with the membership, I guess?
So myself, Riley, and Rock are all transferring. I'm sure they're going to build a statue of Rock when he leaves. But, so all three of us have our transfers. The orders have all been given, and so we're all gone. What that means for the constables is it's status quo. You're still going to have the 5 members in here. So the staffing was nice. They planned ahead of time. They got 2 cadets here because we don't ever get laterals. We don't get experienced members here. They're always at a depot. That leaves us with a gap because somebody transfers out, then we get a cadet. The cadet isn't full operational, so they're not very useful for the first. So they got the cadets out here, get them trained up. Keanu's trained, and Stephanie should be done in about 3 months. And then just in time for all the transfers to go through, and you guys still have 5 full constables. My position, they're going to bring a sergeant in from Brooks, Sergeant Ramo Lou, and he's going to fill my position temporarily until they find somebody to permanently fill it. And I think they're going to go with promotion on the position here, so it might take them a little while. Sergeant Lou's residence is in Brooks, so it will be the commute thing, unfortunately, but it's better than not having a sergeant involved. And with technology these days, you can cyber manage quite well from another detachment, but he is going to come here. I did invite him out tonight to come meet everybody, but apparently tonight is speed shooting, so I told him his priority straight. So I'm hoping that he'll come on the, I think, 14th September.
Yeah.
September 14th, I'll bring him and my 2 newest members. Constable Pepin has been here, correct?
Yes,
Yes? Okay.
I think so.
Being told,
I
no.
don't think
I don't
so.
think She hasn't,
No,
no,
no.
Amy hasn't been here.
I will, well, you know what, we'll just bring the whole attachment. But, we'll bring everybody here to make sure they meet everyone. And your senior members at the detachment are gonna be Constable Lengsfeld and Constable Hartman, and they're both very solid members. So you're in good hands with that. And Rimo has probably as much service as I do. So I don't think we're gonna see much of a change here. The whole community engagement thing, all the contacts with media, all the contacts we send out the quarterly reports and stuff like that, that's all being passed on to him, so we can continue that and not have to kind of reinvent that wheel again. So I hope everything just continues steps.
So they're body worn cameras, I know you obviously have a little bit in there, so have you started any of that yet?
They're doing testing, I guess, on cameras right now, just to see what they're gonna go to. And you know, I don't think you'll find an RCMP member that's against cameras. In fact, we've been asking for the body worn cameras. You have to understand the logistics of body worn cameras for 20,000 people. And so that's where, that's where the shine is with it. They're being, we're kind of being pushed by, public scrutiny and transparency and stuff like that. That's the best way to do it. And realistically, for the reasons stated in that, the handout, it shortens investigations. People look at that and go, yep, that's what happened. And we move on. And you got a bad police officer that fixes that real quick. So, but more times than not, it'll show we're doing what we're supposed to do. And then we get the odd time that you'll find somebody, stuff happens, right? So, but they're testing them right now just to see which one they want to go with, and then they'll start rolling them out. I think in the document, I haven't read it for a while, but I think it said something the costs are going to be initially picked up by the RCMP, and then somehow that's going to get transferred down to the contracts, unfortunately. But that's way above my pay grade.
So just to comment then on your transfers, I know you and I have chatted about the 14th of September in particular, and you thought you might still be here. Did you have any clear date than that?
I don't have a clear date. So right now, so my house goes up for sale. I've got to find a place in Sundre. We've got to kind of coordinate the moving truck and all that stuff. And, they're probably coordinating 500 transfers at the same time. So it's impossible for me to guess. Okay. I'm guessing I will definitely be here September 14th yet.
Okay.
In fact, I think I'll probably be here for the next couple of months without any question at all. So, Sergeant Lou is going to come to the detachment. We'll work together. I'll kind of get the feel of the lay of the land and stuff like that. And then when he does jump in the chair, it's difficult to jump into a chair when nobody's told you how things operate. Start over again. He'll at least have driven the ship a little bit. So.
And the other two constables, kind of similar time frame, or
Rock is gone mid-September. Might actually be that September 14th is his first shift in Red Deer.
okay.
And Riley, we don't have a confirmed date yet. So, but he's in the same process that I am right now.
Well, hopefully we'll see you in the September meeting. If we don't, appreciate pass that on. We appreciate coming all over to you folks and the fact that you do communicate with us as council.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that.
Pass it on to the rest of the appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Did everybody get that?
Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
All right, I would entertain a motion that council thanks Sergeant Trent Stewart and the attachment for the presentation of dates and statistics and the update on the activities of the attachment. Thank you, Councilor Campion. All in favor? That is carried. That takes us to anybody here for public presentation. I'm never gonna not ask you, just so you know. All right, that takes us to some meeting minutes. I would entertain the motion that the minutes of the regular council meeting held July 13th, 2021 be adopted as presented. Thank you, Councilor Deadlock. Any questions, errors, or omissions? Seeing none of the question, all in favor? That is carried. And yes, I'm not. That takes us to accounts payable. I would entertain the motion that Council accepts the accounts payable check or listings for general account checks 41747 to 41819 and direct deposit payments of 0003862 to 0004441 for information. Thank you, Councilor Olson. Any questions regarding the accounts payable? Question, all in favor? That is carried. That takes us to 6.02 statement of revenue and expenditures. I would entertain a motion that council accept the statement of revenue expenses report for July 2021 for information. Thank you, Councilor Gordon. You gotta get in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
I was getting there.
Any questions regarding the statement of revenue and expenses? Okay, call the question. All in favor? That is carried. That takes us to the budget overview, 6.3. I would entertain a motion that council accepts the budget overview for July 2021 for information. Thank you, Councilor Campion. Questions regarding the budget overview? All right, call the question. All in favor? That is carried. We don't have any committee reports submitted, so that takes us to senior administrative officials report, and we'll turn the floor over to our CAO, Mr. Neil. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just want to make sure everybody's clear on our grant application for Western Economic Diversification. So we did submit an application to the government in the amount of $524,648 under their new Canada Community Revitalization Fund for our downtown revitalization project. Focus of that grant, we tried to keep it because when we met with Anna Curtis and in their documents, they say projects under $500,000 will receive priority. So we kept it to only the above ground portion, but the estimate we had on the above ground portion, the concrete work alone was $1.5 million. So we excluded the concrete work portion. So this is more your light standards, your benches, your, those types of things in the program. We also have been working with Cactus Corridor on with a proposal to them through the Canada Coal Infrastructure Fund in the amount of $3.648 million. And that would be on a total project cost of 4.8. So we would be looking at having to put in 25% if successful, and that would take care of all of our underground, so our water, our sewer, our storm, our road base, our asphalt, and will include the concrete portion of the design work. So there's no indication from them on when decisions will be made. The only thing that Anna was very clear was if there is an election called, everything stops. And everything stops. And she said that will cause time issues with moving forward. So just I guess a roundabout way of getting to our project that we looked at for the downtown core for those 3 blocks, starting at this block and going to the post office block, is probably a total of about $5.3 million in total. So we're hoping between the 2 governments we get 75% of that, or the 2 projects we get 75%. So somewhere in the neighborhood of 4.1, 4.2. So
Which isn't bad when you consider that all the infrastructure is redone across in front of our store.
yeah, the cost, that block was about 600,000. So so we'll see where we make out there. I do know that even though it was a very short window for people to get their applications in, I know there were a number of applications submitted. I know even Jordan Christensen from Special Areas commented that he signed a number of letters of support. So I'm not sure and that was just in special areas. So I'm not sure what the other communities are applying for. Youngstown is applying for very similar to us. Their numbers might be different, but they're looking at a downtown revitalization. I know just from reading the paper, I think Coronation was applying for a ice plant for their arena, so we'll see. I just wanted, it's a large project and you guys will get questions on the street, I'm sure, from people about where's this money? How are we gonna do this? We don't have $5 million. You're right, we don't have $5 million and we're just in the planning phase. At the end of the day, depending on where the funding commitments come, council of the day that's making those decisions will have to make those decisions on whether they borrow money, whether they do this, whether they cut the project, all those options will be on the table. So as we move forward, so it could be a very busy summer next summer if we are successful. Could mean a lot of disruption to our downtown core, but it will be a good thing if we are doing that work. We are then cleaning up the top level, making it attractive, but we're also dealing with the underground stuff as well. So I think the people that I've talked to that have come in to talk to me about it, that's been their concern, is that we're dealing with the whole project, not just, and for a lot of the people that I talked to, they would be more concerned with doing the underground and not the above ground. But they want to make sure we just don't do the pretty stuff and then find ourselves having to deal with the infrastructure at a later date and ripping all that stuff up again. So, and like again, it's a little bit early. I wish this grant would have come out a few months from now, because we're still in the process. Council has not adopted, I want to be clear to anybody, council has not adopted any of those concept plans. We use the one concept plan as our background for applying, but that doesn't mean that is the concept we're choosing. It's still up for discussion, debate, and change. So I just want to make sure that council was aware that we put a lot of our eggs in those two baskets to make this project work, and hopefully that will work to our benefits. So, and I think that's it, Mr. Mayor, unless there's any questions.
Be quiet, I guess. Thank you.
Just a comment,
Yep.
We will probably get the money next year, there's no doubt. Then the next council will be the one that gets all the glory. That's the way it goes, is it not? We do the work, they get the
I
glory.
was, so the swimming pool and Centennial Place, I wasn't on that council that decided those, so, and I got to sit in the pictures, so that it happens.
Yeah, we're just scared
We'll
you
just
and
put it
me
that
are
way.
gonna drown in that. pool.
Yeah, right. And who's to say, I mean, there's an election, we could still win, so
There
we
you
could
go.
choose to run. All right, thank you for that, Mr. Neal.
You're welcome.
So we have now, of course, our Director of Business Communications, Director Armstrong.
Yes, thank you, your worship. Quite a bit of maintenance this month, having been able to spend a little bit of time not communicating COVID-19 changes, touch wood, to catch up on some things that are very overdue catching up on. So a couple of the items I've given you the highlights of in my report. I don't have anything further to add, but I'm certainly open to any questions.
I have one,
Yes.
and I'm not pointing fingers or not looking at accusations or anything. I know we budgeted a significant amount of money for a rebuild in here.
Yes.
Is that moving along somewhat? I mean, no pressure.
So I started by reaching out to some companies that deal with used office supply. We're hearing about office towers empty in the city of Calgary, so that was kind of a natural to me. That's probably, I'd be shocked if anything came out of that. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on this, but it's a lot of work for them to go and disassemble an office and sell it when they could sell something brand new much easier. That said, even if something used did appear, it would be a challenge to fit into this space. So I did start working on a couple of concepts. And Kim and I had a preliminary conversation about how it might work this way, it might work that way. We're trying to work with the existing infrastructure. There's conduit in the concrete floor. Depending what we want to do, the budget might cover only the table. We're also experimenting, as you can tell
Right.
today, with cameras and technology and what is the future gonna look like for council meetings. Yeah,
I
how
think
that's all gonna work.
the concept that we've probably focused on for this room would be to have a similar setup we did in the old council chambers. But yeah, kind of a horseshoe or a U or a, a shallow V. If we do that, we'll probably have to put the head of the table against that wall, just to give us the space to spread out. This way, there's not enough room to do that really well here. So that's kind of the concept we've looked at is doing that, and then our delegations and our public would be here, facing here, but, so we have done some work on it.
Yeah, no, that's it. I was just wondering.
For sure.
I actually forgot about it. So I sat down and saw the owls and. Oh, wait, yeah.
So I do have a comment, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
So Lori does have in a report about the ability for citizens to submit a concern online. I don't know, we have had, we have had 7 come in through that process in a limited time and with limited marketing. But we haven't had any negative feedback from the users. So it basically comes in and the report will go to whichever area the concern is about, whether it's streets and roads, whether it's bylaw, whether it's something else. And there's always that famous other if they're not sure which category it fits in. So then we get a list, tabulated list of all of the concerns that have come in and who they were from and how we can move forward dealing with them. So if you're talking to anybody or if you get any feedback from anybody that we tried it, we didn't like it, we've done it very economically. There are tons of software programs out there, people wanting to sell you that software, and Lori's basically made it up on her own and at no direct cost to the town. So if it's going to work, I think my thought around it was we're going to start small, and if we can work this way and it works, that's great. If we need to tweak it or improve it, then, we've got the base there to work from. So if you hear from anybody about it, let us know whether they thought it worked good or didn't work good or whatever. So because it's just been out now for maybe a week.
Yeah, maybe 2 weeks. It's fairly new. We did a little kick about it, got some people submitting. We've had one, wasn't even a complaint. They just didn't know if the field was long enough for the information they wanted to put in there. So tried to keep it as simple as possible, so it's easy for the user.
I believe they can attach pictures.
They can
to
attach
it, so-
files, pictures or a PDF or a Word document. So at this point, I think it will meet our needs for a smaller community until some spam robots figure out a way around it.
And maybe you can package it and sell it to All right, thank you. Is there any further questions for Sean? Okay, thank you very much for that. Keep up the great work. You have the report from the Director of Community Services. If there's any questions, we can direct them to Mr. Neal. You might be able to answer them, or anything that you wanted to highlight out of it.
I don't know if there's anything, I guess we're at this point of the year where, believe it or not, summer's coming to an end. We've got 2-3 weeks left of the pool operating. The spray park it's not been a surprise to me. We have had some issues in terms of operating and moving it forward. Our guys, staff have done a great job narrowing things down, figuring things out. It's a new animal, and I think that combined with the fact that it's been so hot and it's been so busy, we've had some challenges with some readings there that I think we've got figured out, and it's getting better. The other thing there that we have is there is a leak in the pipe between the tank and the recirculating tank, and unfortunately it is under that pour in place stuff. So PlayQuest has been out, they pressure tested it. They believe they know where the line is, and we've told them to arrange to come back in the fall in September and fix it. And it's probably a good thing that they're the same contractor who did the pour in play as well as the tank, because they're gonna be digging that up. It was two separate ones. They might be having some issues dealing with each other on it. So that's, it's been great to see how active it is, and it's been great to hear the compliments about how it's been working and how the people have been using it. And we're still, other than that leak, I think we've got everything else figured out, so.
That's good.
Was there a comment about the men's washroom? Like, I'm just wondering how are the washrooms working as well?
I
Getting
haven't heard
utilized and-
anything in terms of how they're working. My understanding,
something
Councillor Bowden, is that our pool staff or one of our rec guys, when they start in the morning, they open them. And our pool staff closes them at the end of the day and checks on them occasionally during the day just for cleanliness. I haven't heard any comments or questions, one either positive or negative about them.
I
So
thought there was something I read something about the men's washroom, but I don't read much about men's washrooms, so
I know the other thing we did,
imagine it's good.
the other thing we did, the hot water tank is there primarily for washing hands, but it was heating the outdoor shower. And we did see a number of people just standing under the shower. So we've taken the hot water away from there, like it's, because they were just standing there, you know, that water is cold and they're standing under there. And we just felt that we were wasting so much hot water because people were there. I haven't heard any feedback one way or the other from anybody that they missed the hot water, but it's basically just to, you know, it's not like the pool where you're supposed to come in and completely clean yourself. It's so I haven't heard anything. It's been a bit of a challenge, and we did have it closed down for a couple of days when PlayQuest was out, when we were trying to isolate and figure out where we were losing some water. We were losing water, but it wasn't like a water leak and it was coming to the surface and we could tell we were losing water. We just knew every night that we were down water and we couldn't figure out why. So, but so you've just been working through that, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure what we're gonna do in September. If there'll be a demand to have it open on a limited basis or not. Once you get into September, it gets very weather related. We can have some very nice days, but you can have some days where it's not very nice, and it's hard to have it open, you know, only under certain conditions. People don't know if it's open or it's closed. So it might be simpler just to close it. And that'll be our luck. We'll have a great Indian fall and it'll be nice and people will be looking for it. But we haven't had a lot of discussion on how we move forward. If we were gonna keep it open, the hours would certainly be limited, so.
What water heater you talking, is it electric?
I can't remember, is it electric? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there's no gas.
So like I said, we shut it off to the shower because, and it's not a big one, but it was just, people were standing under there till they drained it.
And then it's running steady. to
Then
burn
it
a
was
lot.
drained, out they went, so.
They burn a lot of power.
Well, thank you for those updates. That takes us to 8.4, Director of Protective Services, Director Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since council, we last met at last meeting, I continue to kind of slog through the weed grass remediation issues, and I'm glad to report that I have had some success in seeing progress by property owners. Comes in little increments, but there definitely has been progress there. And a small number of properties have been subject to remediation through the enforcement, and contractors were hired to take care of that. And so far, it's been working out too badly. I have been doing a little bit more work in the way of noxious weeds through the Alberta invasive species mandate to take care of these noxious weeds, and have come across a few infestations and have been once again happy with the results of sending letters out and getting the folks to take care of those. And as I had said in my report here, that property owners are encouraged to check out the Alberta invasive species website to help identify noxious weeds that may be found on their lots and properties. And the site lists remedies and ways of controlling these unwanted infestations. So it's I think the dry weather tends to bring out the weed population, and that's pretty evident. If you take a look at an ordinary lawn, you see all of the weeds, and the lawn is still at 2 inches high. So it's kind of an anomaly. But I'd also like to draw council's attention to the new Alberta Emergency Management Plan. Fact that has been released and has been approved by the province. And it's now available to the public on the Alberta Emergency Management Agency's website. So this provincial plan sets the bar for emergency management response at the provincial level and outlines roles and responsibilities for all emergency management partners throughout the province and municipalities. So opportunity for feedback from stakeholders and all the communities in Alberta will be made available, and changes will be incorporated into the final revised plan, supposedly to be released sometime in 2022. So it has been approved and it's out there. So I would encourage council when they get a chance, it's probably a thick document, but to try and look at it and look particularly at municipal council's roles and responsibilities. That's something that I don't know. I haven't looked through it all just yet. I'm not sure there's been any major changes to that, but I would encourage you all. That's all I have.
Any questions? Yes, Councilor Wood.
I would just like to thank you for finally getting that property north of Tim Hortons done. I know I've submitted applications over the past 6.5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's nice to see it finally done. There's still some timbers that are still in that property and such. And just wondering if Tim Hortons property as well as east of Tim Hortons property is going to be addressed.
I did address Tim Hortons property for the kind of outbreak of sow thistle that was throughout their flower beds and that, and spoke with management, and they have since begun their remediation of those properties there. Yes, we were able to connect a contractor with the property owner west of the roundhouse, and I was quite happy that the property owner complied and hired that done, and it's made quite a bit of difference too. So yeah, we'll be looking at the other property as well.
So can they spray like for all the weeds that are around, especially around that parking area?
Who's they? Like, you mean
On Tim Hortons property along that area?
I basically just asked that they manage the weeds there. So I think they did the majority of it. They pulled. So I don't know if they use weed spray or not,
Yeah,
but
no, there's still stuff on
yeah.
it.
And it
has not.
and the new road that we put in on the edges of that road, there are some weeds in there. So I don't know if there's a I guess I would say a kind of a misinformation on as to who's in control of that property as far as the edges of the property concerned. So I'll look at that and address that as well. So yeah.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you, Director. That takes us to 8.5, Director of Public Works. Director
Well-
Olson.
Mr. Mayor, I cannot say I have nothing further to add to my report because I don't have a report written. I was on vacation.
And that was good.
It was good. We did lots of boating. We had great company. The kids had a blast. We taught our kids to water ski, kneeboard.
They loved it.
It was awesome. My boys were busy. They fixed some catch basins that we were having some sinking issues with. We still have a couple more, but we had some washouts, so they worked on those. One of my operators made a little more work for themselves. We were fixing one problem and created another problem. So they had a little excitement, but they handled it, and they say it's just to teach Logan and Gucci some of the stuff that can happen, is what I was told with a big grin. We've done some work out at the airport. Still looking with the wall. We've got some questions there. Water was coming in by the windows with the rain. So we're just kind of monitoring that. We're waiting to get some quotes on that. We had that leaking issue there. We had a sinking sidewalk in front of the new Western store. As we filled it with sand, it started to settle. So we took the concrete out, filled it up, made it safe. And when the sidewalk guys come, we'll fix that back up, which they should be here September 1st, their plan is. But I asked for a quote sheet first. We want to make sure that they're within the budget range. I sent out an email and he gave me a call this morning. So we're lining that up for, hopefully they're here the 1st of September to start on our sidewalks that we need to repair. We've been screening and adding millings. We added some in front of the water treatment plant to help with the dust. We're gonna see how that works, see how it holds up. We thought we would get a lot more phone calls for people wanting it on the whole road. It seemed to washboard really bad this time. We did it also on 5th Street East by Big Country and around the corner, but I believe it's because there's not enough moisture in it. So I had Braden regrade all of them today with that little bit of rain, and we'll see how it packs in. So we've been adding millings to where the low spots are. So Braden's been doing a lot of that. I am down an employee. He had a bit of back issue happen on him, so he's been off for a week and then he was off for another week, and we'll see what happens next week. We lose Mr. Robbie Thandy on the 20th of the month. He tells me he's leaving our public works shop a new man. He's learned a lot, learned how to run a leaf blower and ride a lawnmower. He's learning how to paint hydrants. And he's pretty white freckled today. And I told him if he would paint with the wind, not against the wind. And he said he would try that. So he's been a really, really good kid, and he's done everything. So he's gonna go to school in Edmonton, so he's here till the 20th. He's the king of the house right now because his other brothers are gone. So other than that, that's kind of where I've been caught up to. If you have any questions, I can try to answer some.
Yeah, Brent, we did pour millings by the water plant.
We did.
Carter said he was quite happy with that. The dust is down. He's not choking it up, but why is it so rough now? Is it because the water, it did go washboard?
Yeah, it did go wash, and I think it's because there's not a lot of moisture. The last time we laid that little bit just down by our waste site there,
Yeah.
it was wet. There was water on the ground, and when we rolled it out, it packed in really nice. So that's, I had Braden touch it up with the water, and we'll see if it packs any better. That would be my only reason, is
Did
it
he
was so
regrade?
dry.
Did he regrade it?
He did today, yeah.
Today, yeah, because I talked to Garth last night when I was talking to him about our barbecue thing. That was one thing he brought.
Yeah, I drove over it this morning and I sent Braden back to in front of on 5th Street East and then down in front of there, just
Yeah.
because it was raining, and hopefully we'll keep an eye on it. Have
Yeah,
this,
you said to thank you guys for the dust control. It's just 100% better, but now it's rough.
I don't know how long it will last because that will dry out as well, but it
Oh, yeah.
definitely helps. So we'll try to keep on top of it.
Well, I told him it's not special areas and us. working on something to do.
Yeah, we're trying to look at
Yeah.
the long term.
Damn road.
Yeah,
They're trying to, they still haven't found a sealant, basically is what we're looking for. It's something, once we lay it all out, pack it, something that will reseal it and stand up.
Yeah.
They've tried a few things. They did try something at the Youngstown Fire Hall. And there was another product Sean was working on, but I haven't touched base with them with holidays and the road crews. They've been really busy. So
Cause it seems like every 6 months we're facing this issue over that road.
yeah, we're hoping we can add enough, put a decent crown on it, because that stuff is packing in nice. And then if we seal it, hopefully that will, we'll find what we need.
the road's been, in my mind, the road's been quite solid the last few years. The challenge we've had with it is it just gets tremendously dusty.
And it does dish out, it pushes
Yeah,
out.
but Special Areas is grading it on a fairly regular basis as they're going to and from the shop there. So I think that's helped a lot since they started doing that as well, so.
And it gets pretty soft down at the bottom by that, where the water thing is.
Not as much anymore when you put the
Well-
concrete in.
Well, the concrete dust, but Brass is talking right where the old pavement meets the gravel. But we put some millings in there and that stuff held up really nice. It's
Okay.
still fairly smooth, so. And I'm guessing, because when we did that the first time, there was water when we laid it out, when I graded it. So I'm hoping with this little bit of rain, I mean, it wasn't much, but maybe it'll give it a little bit more packing.
Cause that's the only soft spot really on the road right there. The rest
Yeah,
of
right by the old bridge.
It seems pretty hard.
Okay, Councilor Bowden?
Well, south of the UFA as well, I think there's quite a bit of washboard.
Yeah, that road just keeps,
Okay.
that oil road is just breaking up, and that's one of the things that we're gonna have to look at budget too. I've been trying to get some quotes. We need to remill that road, add more material and oil it and lay it out, which is what we've always done. But there's no base on that road and it just keeps pushing out. So again, we have to figure out that in a budget, get the oil, and if we can use millings, that would be great.
Yeah, got to wait with the truck, so it's,
Yeah.
okay, well, okay, Councilor Devon.
Is there any progress in whether we're going to be selling some of the money?
I don't think so. We've been asked about it and we've been totally hesitant.
And it's not
because-
all the towns, right? It's shared with
It's
special
shared with
areas.
special
Okay,
areas.
that was the answer.
But there's a ton there. The challenge is, and again, we're trying to be respectful to our gravel operators that are in the game as a living. So we're starting to turn around giving away free products that we got free. You know, we've had a cost with a screener and we've had costs with man time, man hours, and equipment to get it, so it's a good material. But you know, you're really starting to cut the arms off of the gravel companies as well. Like, part of me was, you know, if the gravel operators would come to us and say, we want to buy some, and then we could sell it, you know, sell it to them if Special Areas is okay with it, and then they can turn around and sell it, distribute it, deliver it, and we're out of that game. So
And we are working with special areas. We were kind of like a storage site, and by storing it, they've offered us half of the material. So we can't turn around and sell our stuff if they're not, because we don't know what we're gonna do with it yet. And the idea is to put, I forget how many tons are gonna have to go on that South Municipal Road if we can get a material to seal it. Because if we want to build it and crown it, so they're not jumping to get rid of it yet. So we're kind of waiting for special areas to give us the lead.
All right, you know, I timed that, and that's the most you've spoken. Since I've been on council.
It was not easy.
That's a long, long time.
So are you suggesting that he doesn't provide a written
That's
report?
the way he wants to go.
Larry missed it, it's probably. Just saying.
All right, thank you for that. With that, I'd entertain a motion that council accepts senior administrative officials report 8.1 to 8.5 as presented for information. Thank you, Councilor Bowden. All in favor? That is carried. That takes us to some business items. 9.1, policy 8.02 cemetery rates. I would entertain a motion. that council repeals policy 8.02 cemetery rates as the cemetery rates and fees are included in Schedule A of bylaw 1021-2021, the Hanna Municipal Cemetery Bylaw adopted July 13th, 2021. Thank you, Councillor Olson. No need to, no questions, obviously, let's just clean up. Okay, all in favor? And that is carried. That's so easy. 9.2. This is keep going with this. All right, brand experience guidelines. Is that correct? Yes. Already entertain a motion that council approves the town of Hanna brand experience guidelines version 7.2021 as presented to incorporate the Harvest Sky region with the town of Hanna brand and accepts the timeline to implement the revised brands as outlined by administration in the report dated August 10th, 2020. Thank you, Councillor Deadlock.
So, Mr. Mayor, we did talk briefly about this at a council info session, I believe, in terms of cactus corridors, marketing efforts and rebranding efforts to Harvest Sky region. And with that, the recommendation that the partners of former Cactus, now Harvest Sky, try and incorporate that branding in our own municipal or partnership logos. So Lori's been working with Insight, who was the consultant that Cactus was working with. And I think in your package, you see the ideas of what will happen. And Lori can correct me if I'm wrong, but at the end of the day, from the logo that we adopted in, I guess it was December of 2019, the body of the logo will remove the phrase "live the lifestyle" and will be replaced by a part of the Harvest Sky region. The "Live the Lifestyle" tagline will continue to be used in certain promotional materials, both as a tagline or as a watermark. The H will be used as a watermark on letterhead, which will be new. And when we use the word letterhead, we don't go to Tumbleweeds, for example, and get 1,000 pages of letterhead printed. We just do it electronically and then print it out. So it's not like we have, boxes of letterhead that are going to go to waste. The leaf will remain in the logo, but will be removed from all other documents and advertising. And the font of the tagline and various things that we're going to deal with will change from Univia Pro to Open Sans. So that's kind of the changes there. Lori will be working, if council adopts this change, to modify the logo on our website and all of the necessary pages and stuff on our website. Graphics such as posters, advertisements, social media, documents such as correspondence and letterhead, utilities, invoices, business cards. We're not going to change business cards until such time as we need to, although prospective new council, we will whoever needs new cards, we will get new cards with the modified logo on it. Vehicle and equipment decals, we haven't done any of that, so we will slowly probably start to roll that out. Signage, not going to do anything with signage at the moment. I think council has seen a concept plan on signage from 818, but that plan has not been adopted by council at this point in time. So I think when that kind of gets to a little more of a final state and council adopts it, then we'll look at how we adopt our signage. And I haven't focused a lot on that signage plan. I know that it was a fairly robust plan that I think we need to scale back. And my vision, I guess, for signage is we already have existing signage locations on most of our facilities, if not all of them. I envision just changing the plastic laminate that's in there, doing it, not putting anything fancy as a separate sign to get in there. And so that will all be dependent on finances and budgets. I know that
some of it is cleaning up some of the old signs.
Yeah.
That's just kind of hanging out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it actually tells you what it's supposed to tell you, but
From the seventies.
it's an eyesore, yeah.
So-
You know, and it just doesn't fit with.
Yeah, so Cactus does have some funds through the Western Economic Diversification that can go towards signage, but we have to determine exactly how much that is, and then council will be able to decide what their priorities are for allocation, if it's highway signage, if it's directional signage, if it's those types of things. But so at this point, we're not gonna move forward on any of our signage until that signage plan is got a little more meat to it and has been adopted by council. And souvenirs, again, as we replace souvenirs, we'll replace with the new stuff. We do have a fairly decent stock of most things at this point, but as we replace, we will, continue to change. As Lori and I talked, to most people, they're not gonna notice any change. They might pick up on Live the Lifestyle's not there and a part of the Harvest Sky region is there. But in terms of the font, in terms of any of that, I don't think there'll be really anything noticeable to most people. So.
So why are we doing this? We already spent how much time and money towards already the logo and all this other stuff, and 13 ways and all that business. So why are we now changing this again?
Well, we're
changing the guidelines.
We're changing the guidelines and we're
We are
modifying.
changing it. You're-
We're modifying what was approved by council. And I guess, like I said, the big part of it is basically to live the lifestyle, to identify a part of the Harvest Sky region, to be a partner with Harvest Sky and help in their marketing initiatives and marketing recommendations moving forward. Special Areas is looking at something now in terms of how they can do theirs. Village of Youngstown is going to have something that is very similar, as is Hanna Learning Center. I think that's all of the partners. So that's why we're doing it, to be part of a unified region on our marketing efforts, and to give what was Cactus Corridor, but to give Harvest Sky more presence in the community and more identity. If people are out seeing Harvest Sky, that and they see it reflected in the town, they know we're a partner, and we know we're a part of Harvest Sky. So if council chooses not to approve the guidelines this evening, then we are back to our original guidelines. So the decision is before you tonight, but
Well, can we wait? I'm sorry. Can we wait until we just are here, whether or not Special Areas and what they're doing and what Youngstown is doing?
Youngstown will be approving it. I shouldn't say they will be, but they're very on board.
But this doesn't
Very
mean
much
live the
on board.
lifestyle.
Live the
No, it
lifestyle
just
is,
seems like, a decision has been made and
I just
the
would
money
like to
and time is
comment
spent.
on that. So the whole idea is to show unity with the region. And after our initial graphics were approved and I actually began working with them, there's some real challenges with the graphic design. It's not even going to be noticeable to the naked eye, but I can point it out to you, but it's hugely time consuming when you're reading vinyl pieces that Tumbleweeds creates for the vinyl. So we took the opportunity to make it so that when you can scale it down, the H doesn't necessarily become a blob so much as it will be more defined. So we haven't put any dollars, and we won't be putting any dollars into this. It's part of what Harvest Sky is doing and trying to bring all of their partners up to the same level of promotion, which
is this
we're,
going to bring any
where
more
it's at.
businesses to Hanna? Like,
well, Harvest Sky
Potentially,
region.
absolutely.
that's like I said, it is here for council's approval this evening. If council chose to want to see what all of the other partners were doing, that's certainly in their prerogative. We're not under a time crunch that this has to be done immediately. Or if council doesn't want to go down this road, council can simply defeat it. So.
I just want to comment too, I agree with the modernization of the logo and those few little tweaks. The tagline I emotionally attached to it, because we did spend copious amounts of time and we were told to find something that identifies us. Hanna is the biggest draw for people to live in the Harvest Sky region, being the largest area, the largest town. I would like to see that live the lifestyle stay there. I've had conversations with people in town, out of town, for what it means. And we could talk for an hour about what it's like to live in Hanna and really sell it. Somebody asked, Harvest Sky region, oh, that means we're East Central Alberta, I guess. Like, I certainly agree to match up with the partners in the area, but I don't think we need to dissolve what we were told to find our own identity and what makes Hanna attractive, that live the lifestyle.
Yes, live the lifestyle is not being thrown out at all, and I guess I would be asking council to trust the people that are making the decisions on the final graphics pieces, that live the lifestyle will be represented, whether it is in the form of a watermark or in the imagery that will be used, but we're not getting rid of that, and there will be times where live the lifestyle may be in place rather than part of the Harvest Sky region. So it's giving a lot more flexibility and ability to use that. We don't want to get rid of that. That was something that when they first came to us with that I was very clear on, that there was a lot of time and effort put into that, and we felt it was very important that it remained, that's how council would want it to remain. So.
And I think with the part of the Harvest Sky region is its intent is more for marketing, not necessarily for how we represent our community, but how Harvest Sky is represented. So
Externally more so.
yeah, like, so if someone's doing a Google search and they're looking, they find Harvest Sky, well, Hanna will come in there as part of Harvest Sky. If we don't have Harvest Sky in any of our documents, it won't be coming up in the searches, and that is their thought behind using it and in some of our stuff, so that we come up in searches and we're more known to people that are doing searches on special areas where it comes up as Harvest Sky. Hanna will be somewhere in that marketing stuff. It'll be included more.
And it would certainly show up. I mean, the text on the logo isn't going to change any kind of search for it. So to me, if there was something in the guidelines that said, if this is anything to be represented externally, then it's this logo. If it's anything outside of that, it's something in the internal stuff. That's just, these visual guidelines don't have any logos, whereas the first one we had last month worked it in and it looked really nice.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, I've asked them
So
to
I wasn't
separate it
sure
out
how
into
that-
2 different documents, and the reason I did that is because I want to create a working document as we add some of our forms and application forms, visual media and signage into the working document. So you're right, I can show you that, but I didn't want to have, we still want to have that flexibility. So I didn't want to have it approved in stone so that every sign has to look like this and every ad has to look like this. So, but I can show you that, and we can certainly bring it forward.
I think I would support what Councilor Olson was saying, and would like to see what we already have, and then the secondary being part of Harvest Sky. So we can live the lifestyle, part of Harvest Sky. I think that was what you were saying, is that correct?
Yeah, just this one.
I like the
doesn't work
idea
well,
that
so-
Hanna has an image in its own, and the others can tag on. And
This was the idea that you were thinking of?
Yeah.
Where this is brought in, yeah. So this will become my intent is this will become part of our internal working document for staff. But I don't want staff to think that it has to look exactly like that, because I'm running into that right now where everything goes out looking exactly the same. So we definitely want a theme and we want a feel, but we don't want a cookie cutter. So I thought that should be more dynamic. I want to come back and get council's approval for every ad and every document.
We have to trust
It's too
that
onerous.
administration is going to use.
So I guess, as I mentioned before, there's no rush to approve this. If there's something you would like brought back for more detail on how live the lifestyle will be incorporated, and how it will be used, that's certainly something we can do, and we can table this till the next meeting. That's certainly not an issue. If that's how council's feeling about this.
I'd like to see what the others have to say.
Well, I don't,
I think
know,
we need
and
to
I'll
make that
throw my
decision.
2 cents in. I mean, we pay Harvest Sky significant dollars every year to be part of that corporation. It's our economic development corporation. This is the organization that is driving economic development in our region. So are we part of it? Yes, we absolutely are. And I think we need to show that. And I don't disagree. I think like internal documents or local documents don't necessarily have to have part of the Harvest Sky region. They can still say that with the lifestyle. When you're more than a global sense, then that's where you use, and it can be used with discretion. I think we have to give administration some credit, that they'll use it where they see fit.
And I
If
don't
I'm
know,
understanding it, that's the intent, right?
Yeah, the intent will be to use the, I'm still sussing all of that out
Right.
myself. So I won't get the data across to
Right.
the rest of the staff that will be using it. So there's definitely gonna be a bit of a learning curve as to what's
Yeah.
used where.
and as
We'll have
far
to come
as
up with our own.
as far as the village of Youngstown, I know that they didn't have anything, so they're all on board. They don't have to worry about what a previous tagline was and how it fits in, so they're all on board. I know,
Special areas is a little more unique because they're
Yeah.
a government agency. And we don't know if they can actually necessarily do.
and the other challenge they have is that Harvest Sky right now is special areas 2. So their special areas logo is for 3 and 4 as a combined entity. So they've got a few other logistics that they have to work through.
But having said that, when we had the original presentation for Harvest Sky, Wanda, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, Wanda Decker.
She said we want to be part of it. So they see the vision of what this is gonna be. So, I mean, if we want to table it, we can table it. We can make a motion to table it. We can table it till next meeting.
And if
we do that.
If,
Yeah, that's fine. You can, that's free. You're free to make a motion to table it.
if we did want to table it, Mr. Mayor, my comment would be, provide us with some direction on what additional information you would want to see at the next meeting.
Well, would it be, just listening, so if I was searching, and I searched Harvest Sky, and Hanna came up, and I clicked on Hanna, then it would be Hanna Lives Lifestyle. Is that correct? Am I assuming that correct?
Yeah, I think you're oversimplifying it.
Right, like if
Yeah.
somebody searched the region of the Sky region, and then Hanna popped up as part of that region, and you clicked on our Hanna and come to our page, then it would be Live the Lifestyle,
Our
this is what
tagline is
Hanna
still-
asked. to offer.
We're still going to promote the
Live
lifestyle.
live the life.
That is part of the whole,
We're not gonna
13 ways did.
It's just come up with the logo, so.
It's just
There's no
using
intent
the
to change
region
that.
as
An advertising
We
tool.
that's what I thought.
It's not like we're trying to directly change it or hide it.
No, no,
So
no.
don't
And
see,
we're not
I
losing it.
don't see any point in tabling this. Get it over with.
Comments? Motions?
Do we have a motion on the floor, Rhonda? You all ready? Yes.
To accept it.
To accept it.
Okay, nobody wants to move to table it? Then I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. All right, that takes us to 9.3. I would entertain a motion that council authorize the mayor to send a letter to Drumheller Stettler, NLA Nate Horner, expressing that town Hanna concerns with the recently passed Bill 16, the Victims of Crime Strengthening Public Safety Amendment Act, and the negative effects that it has on local victim services units. Thank you, Councillor Campion.
So, yeah, Mr. Mayor, this is a initiative of AUMA. And they've provided the request for municipalities to, discuss it with our our MLAs, make sure they're aware. I don't follow this really closely, and until I read through the information putting this report together, I didn't know that as of April 1, 2020, they increased the Victims of Crime Fund with additional surcharge, so it went from 40 to $60 million a year. And I guess my understanding with Bill 16 is now it expands the scope of the Victims of Crime Fund to include public safety initiatives. And we're the only province that does not restrict the use of our Victim of Crime funds to support victims. I think there's still, you find with most victim service units is that they are still doing fundraising on their own to be able to participate and move their organizations forward. We're in a little bit of an anomaly here in the fact that our victim service unit has been not in place. Hopefully it's getting started and it's back on that road to recovery again. So this has been an initiative of AUMA. So
Oh, it's already been- All in favor? That is carried. 9.4, special council meeting. I would entertain a motion to council authorize a special council meeting to be held August 25th, 2021 at 8:30 a.m. in the council chambers of the Town of Hanna office for the purpose of reviewing and discussing a Town of Hanna demolition plan. Thank you, Councilor Olson.
So as the report says, and as council's aware, been working with Mark Nakota on demolition of properties, and we've identified 5 properties. 2 of them are Town of Hanna owned properties. 3 are currently privately held buildings. 2 of the 3 currently privately held buildings would be able to be sold town for $1, so they would be town owned property. The 5th building is a little more complicated, and we'll get into that on the 25th. But as you can see, through the RFP, we had 8 tenders received. Timing wasn't good in terms of me being away, now Mark's away, so we had to sit down together to go through them and bring a recommendation. On the surface, it looks like they're ranging from anywhere from $456,000 for all 5 buildings to $691,000 for all 5 buildings. So there is a gap there, and we'll have to make sure that the low tender is doing the work that we need to be done. This does not include any landfill disposal fees. So as part of the process, when they submitted their tender, each contractor was to give what they felt would be the metric tons of waste that would be generated. And we shared that with Sean Olmsted at Big Country Waste Management Commission. He did give us a price. So based on the estimate of the rubble that would be hauled to Youngstown and the rate that Sean was suggesting, it would be about a $38,000 addition to those numbers there. And that's provided the rates that Sean did indicate that he would have to have commission approval on those rates. So there's
Which
certainly
wouldn't be a problem.
shouldn't be a problem, but they are at a discount.
Councilor Campion.
Why would he, no, but why, I don't know why he said we would have to have approval, but any municipally owned buildings of the people who give us requisitions, they pay $25 a ton, but we
Yeah.
could polish it up quicker if we did it at a commission meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just
So-
happen to have a
so-
little bit of pull there.
So the thought at this point in time, Mr. Mayor, is that Mark's back next week. So him and I will sit down, put our thoughts together, bring something together with council. The other thing that still we have not had any official notification from is from Western Economic Diversification. Mark has asked to take $200,000 out of an existing project and move it towards this, and they're aware of that, and on surface, I think they're okay with it, but they have not yet, unless Mark's received something in the last week or 2 when I've been away, and that'll be a significant decision maker, whether that $200,000 can be used towards demolition or not, because it certainly changes the dynamics of the funding model that council would have to deal with. So,
Last I talked to him, he was pretty confident.
yeah,
That's just him.
yeah.
So are those quotes an all or nothing? Or can some of the buildings?
No, yeah, we had them quoted out per project, per building. So the only thing we'd have to be careful with is a lot of, or a portion of their costs will be mobilization and demobilization. So if we looked at it and by chance we looked through all of them and it was each one of the 5, but we could have 5 different contractors here picking up each building, we wouldn't get that same scale, so we might have to look at it. But if we, for example, if the low tender came in at 456,000 and it met all the criteria we're looking for, we were confident with it moving forward, council could say, we'd like to pull this and this out, and we just want to do these 2 or these 3 or these 1. Certainly that will be an option that council will have to decide moving forward. So this does deal with the entire package, but certainly council can say, yeah, that one we just want to leave, so we'll pull that one out. So, but I think we'd have to focus on one contractor to do that. So
We will have this discussion on.
yeah, so I just wanted to kind of give you some food for thought.
Yeah, no, that's good. Appreciate it. That's good. Awesome. Okay, so with that, we'll just call a question. All in favor? That is carried. We'll see you on the view anyways. It doesn't matter. All right, 9.5 2021 election advance vote. Are there any a motion that council authorize the returning officer to provide for holding advance votes for the 2021 general election as follows? Thursday, October 7th, 2021, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. And Tuesday, October 12th, of 2021, from 12 noon to 3 p.m. in council chambers of the town office at 302 2nd Avenue West. Thank you, Councillor Campion. All in favor? That is carried. That takes us to 9.6. I would entertain a motion that council established that in order to take a vote of an elector who, because of physical incapacity, is unable to attend a voting station, the return officers shall provide for the attendance of election officers at an elector's place of residence between the hours of 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. on election day, October 18th, 2021, and permit the electors to contact the town of Hanna until 9:30 a.m. on October 18th, 2021 to arrange for the service. Thank you, Councillor Deadlock. Favor? That is
It's a
carried.
service provided by Public Works, right?
Thanks, Council. Andy will sing him.
9.7 2021 election officers fees. I would entertain a motion that council establish a fee of at $250 per election officer to work at the town of Hanna general election on October 18th, 2021, with additional $30 fee if an election officer assists with a ballot recount if required following election day. Thank you, Councillor Bowden.
So just want to touch on this for a second, Mr. Mayor. So in your package, I think there was a typo.
Okay.
It said
255.
255. It was,
250.
no, it was actually 225 in 2017,
So
Which was-
there was a
Oh, I
pay cut
see.
here.
which was a $25 increase. We were at 200
Right.
for 2013 and then 225 in 2017, and we're recommending 250 in 2021. It probably works out to about minimum wage when you factor in their training and factor in the day that they've spent there. So
Question, all in favor? That is carried. I would entertain, this is 9.8, I would entertain a motion that council authorized Chief Administrative Officer Kim Neal to sign a joint election agreement between the town of Hanna and Prairie Land Public School Division, wherein the town agrees to conduct a joint election for town of Hanna council members and PLSD. I'll never get used to saying that. Public School trustees for Ward 2, Subdivision 1 in the town of Hanna, and outlines the responsibilities of both parties with respect to the 2021 election. Thank you, Councillor Campion.
So, Mr. Mayor, we've done that for, I'm not sure how many years,
As
but
long as
many
I can
years.
remember.
The other thing that's different that you're probably aware of too, that we will have at our election is there will be a Senate vote, and there will be a referendum, they're calling it, vote with two questions. One being something, I saw the question today, something to do with one's daylight savings time, and one is to do with the Constitutional Act and the equalization formula that is in the Constitution. So Rhonda and I kind of chuckled and said, watch, we'll have our council acclaimed, we'll have the school board acclaimed, and we'll see how many people are interested in voting for those three things. I can't imagine it would be wrong. So those things will be added, and the bonus with that is that we will compensation from the province to administer their votes.
Compensation if we don't actually have to run an election.
Okay.
If we just have to run it for the Senate and the referendum, they give us more money than.
So I don't remember ever having a Senate vote for a referendum. No, I do remember.
We did have a Senate, we called it Senate selection.
How did I vote? Did you look at the-
Very few
Did you
people
cheat?
voted.
No.
A number of
didn't
the
vote,
ballots
did
were,
Now we know.
and nothing came from it.
So when was it? Oh.
3 elections ago.
Probably at least 3 elections.
No more than that.
2000. I can remember some of the people who voted.
Anyway.
So that's your option as a voter, whether you want to vote.
Oh, now, you know what?
You may choose not to vote, but
Yeah, the light came on.
Yeah, yeah, so you don't have to take a ballot if you don't want to.
Yeah, I'm sure I did. Anyway, that's it. Everybody good? I will call the question on favor. That is carried. That takes us to 9.9 tax recovery public auction.
Just a reminder while you're on election, sorry, I have a hand
There we
up.
go. Look at just starting.
I know. That there is a page on the website dedicated to election. We'll be adding FAQs and any information and details as they arise, and there's a section there for people who are wishing to run.
And we have packages.
Would you advertise that disabled thing?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
oh, yes, we
Did
do.
you advertise that?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
always.
There'd be
Yeah.
a lot there.
we'll have to advertise the advanced polls as well as the physically incapacitated voting procedures, so.
All right, you guys want to have a nap while you listen to?
Mr. Mayor, I could suggest that you don't have to read the entire thing if you don't want to, but.
Everybody has, Mr. Moore, do you want to take a moment and read it so you can be entertained? All right, I will entertain the motion for a 9.9 as written in your packages. Thank you, Councilor Devlin.
So, Mr. Mayor, this is part of our annual tax recovery process. So as you can see, currently, we have 9 properties that are up for auction. We've setting the date with this motion for November 4th at 2 p.m. Property owners have until that time to come in and clear out their outstanding amounts. Nothing's changed in terms of the conditions. We are using the assessed value of those properties as the reserve bid, 10% non-refundable deposit. They're offered as is. After the public auction, the town may become the owner of the parcel if they so choose to. And, you know, that's pretty much the same conditions we've used in the past. Hopefully, when we get to November 4th, 2021, we're not at 9, but I think last year we were at 17. Last year when we went through this process. So hopefully we're lower than this. I think we started somewhere in the 21 range at the beginning of the year. So once council has set the date, there will be notification going out to the property owners of the date and the time and what their options are between now and then. And it's as simple as paying it off. It's also as simple as coming in and entering into a tax payment agreement. And the tax payment agreement basically says you will have all of the outstanding taxes paid as well as any current paid within a 3-year period of time. And we factor out what those costs will be, what the penalties will be, and we give them an amount per month. And if they sign that agreement, they can come off the list. So we don't like doing this. This is probably one of the, nastiest things we have to do, but it's part of the game, I guess. So
So we're not selling half of any of the.
no,
If we had you did a 3-year agreement with them and they fell in arrears again on, what do you do then?
well, then it's back again.
Back up.
Yeah.
All you're doing is giving them 3 more years.
Well, no, if someone signed on to a tax agreement, say for one of these properties in October or November, and we had the auction on November 4th and we pulled that one and then they defaulted in January or February, we would put it back on the list we might buy them a year. But that's it.
Yeah.
And again, the tax amount doesn't go away and it doesn't forego that tax. It still keeps accumulating. And as we've learned through this process, generally what we've been able to sell the properties for, not necessarily through auction, but after the fact when we've taken title to them, we've more than covered any of our costs. And then generally, in some situations, has been some surpluses available. So. And most of the ones here, as you can see on the 3rd page, they're not properties with generally a high assessed value. And there's nothing there. The highest deficit we have is $12,000. I think last year we were significantly higher. So.
Further questions?
You had them all, when they're all added up.
Yeah.
There's 10, 20, 31, 36, $50,000.
We had properties last year that one property was more than that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, if there's no further questions, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. That takes-
We have a question from the
Oh,
gallery.
yes, Mr. Moore.
Have you ever sold any at an auction?
I haven't.
Because the street talk is, I don't know if you'll have anybody at the next one.
We may not because of our assessed value.
The assessed value kills it and you don't have the power to do nothing else. Sorry, I just sitting here thinking.
But the challenge is, Mr. Moore, that then we have to have someone come in and either appraise them, right? Which is generally a cost or whatever. So the fact that I always struggle with the word auction because it's not your typical auction when you start low and work your way up. But it does, like I said, if no one does purchase it, it allows us to take title and then list it for sale. And we have sold all of the properties that way that that were left over last year through the process.
So the answer to the question though is no, you've never sold one that.
I don't believe not. I haven't.
I don't recall.
Nobody's
That
thought
one.
you.
And these are actually probably fairly recent, like last year's 17 properties was by far a record. I think in the 8 or 9 years I've been here, we've had maybe 3 auctions. This might be number 4. So some years we don't even have an auction because properties, nobody's in that state. So it tends to be something that's felt province-wide and maybe even countrywide that more people are having trouble paying their taxes and are finding themselves in these situations.
It's not gonna get any better. It's not, just being a realist.
So yeah, you're right. I would never bet any money to anybody that we're going to sell something at an auction.
Well, almost, yeah, like you said, you have trouble with the name of it because it really.
Yeah.
It's,
That's the process, unfortunately.
interested taxpayer to come see but don't be prepared to buy.
Yeah.
Because the assessment is way over.
Is there any of these, like this one here, the $12,000 one? Is any of these dividable, like where they're sitting on, say, there's an empty lot, like as with the one that we just sold here a while back, the one that,
Blah,
Nogla, yeah.
construction.
Yeah, is there any like that where that one could have been separated? Because there was 5 lots
don't believe
involved
so.
in it.
Yeah, that one,
So-
no.
Okay.
There's one
Because I
here
heard a
that's
lot
got-
of conflict about that,
5,
why
6, 7.
it's not, why it was sold in one package like that, and I'm wondering about this block B one, if it isn't one similar to that.
Tim, we're the West two, I think we're separate. No,
There were separate titles, yeah, you're right, yeah, you're,
so they
Council-
could have been.
Councilor.
Oh, oh, wait.
Mr.
You got it
Mr.
right, finally.
Mr. Moore, yeah, we could have sold, they were, I think the building was on 2 lots, maybe a 3rd lot,
Mhm.
but there was 2 separate individuals that we did offer, were part of the 17. So, yeah, Mr. Moore is right, because I know we did have an individual who was at the auction who was contemplating buying one of those lots.
And he's one that I will say, just say, why did it call an option?
Yeah.
That's what
Well,
I'm
that's-
for.
Yeah.
The MGA says.
Yeah.
Okay, back on track. Moves us to, sorry, Mr. Moore, Counselor Moore. It takes us to bylaws 10.1. 1022-2021 land use bylaw amendment. I would entertain a motion the council gave first reading to bylaw 1022-2021, the southeast 16-31-14-W4 redesignation bylaw. Thank you, Councilor Olson. All in favor? That is carried. I would also entertain a motion the council authorize a public hearing for bylaw 1022-2021 to be held on September 14th, 2021 at 7 p.m. in council chambers at the town office to allow any person who claims that he or she will be affected prejudiciously, I don't know why I have a problem with that word, by bylaw number 1022-2021, an opportunity to be heard by council, and further that the notice of the public hearing be advertised and that the required notice be sent to owners of affected properties as well as adjacent landowners. Thank you, Councilor Dedlock.
So just for clarification, this is the property at the golf course. So this is where bureaucracy is at its finest, that we're going through this process and sending letters and advertising for 2 little minor adjustments to existing
bigger than this
properties
room.
that, but it is the process and it is the guidelines. So we will have a public hearing on the 14th to hear if anybody has any concerns or issues, and
And it marks the end of a 40-year process.
Who gets all the golf balls that are laying in?
Depends on what land piece you're
Dean
on.
Disty sure gets a pile of golf balls.
Yeah, it's a new one, yeah, well,
Not that many through Dick's property.
there should be a million of them.
Yeah, it's a long ways.
I think the museum guys should be over there looking for, there's gotta be some there that are worthy of that.
Only a few of us can hit Dick's land.
On your second shot,
Yeah.
on your second shot, you
No.
still don't get it that far?
If you're in there, you're in wrong. Very seriously. Anyway, that's
I
okay.
never get.
All right, so any questions? Obviously, you can now go to my public hearing on the favor. That is carried. All right, this takes us to council reports and roundtable. Let's start with you, Councilor Bowden.
I guess there's my report, there was medical clinic, that the resignation of one of the doctors, so that is a concern, but, yeah, it's unfortunate. And I did talk to Sandy Woodall today regarding her 7 beds, and it is a temporary situation. Just to remind everybody, it is only temporary, given the nurses' situation, staffing, and so they are recruiting, and should they get, or when they get some more RNs, then those beds will come back. So that was a concern of mine. I just wanted to double check with her. And that is what she said. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Any questions for Councilor Wood? Okay, thank you for that. Councilor Olson.
Nothing to add to my lengthy report.
Questions for Councilor Olson? Okay, thank you for that. Councilor Deadlock.
I have nothing else on my plate.
Questions for Councilor Deadlock?
This is
Thank
not
you.
necessarily a council thing, but a question, just how did the fall fair go in general in terms of entries, in terms of attendance?
Very, very. short
Okay.
entries. Yeah. There wasn't. I judged all of the craft. And it took me an hour and a half. And that was all 4 categories. And it should take 4 hours.
Yeah, no, I heard that.
Flowers, I
Overall
think it
from
was
last
2
week, one,
overall,
overall thing, yeah.
probably a grandchild, I'm thinking.
Yes.
Hopefully that's just a COVID thing.
Yeah, and it was at the
That
curling rink
is, yeah.
this year. They're trying to get it back. I think their numbers have been low since they started at the museum. Yeah, like flowers, and I think there's 1 table of flowers, 2 tables of vegetables. Really, really. Very.
Okay, I was just curious. That was kind of what my gut told me,
Yeah.
but I didn't know for a fact, so.
Yeah, it was kind of sad.
I think it's kind of a trend
Yeah.
that fall fairs in all the communities are going downhill. And when the schools are involved and they put some of the items that are collected throughout the year, the numbers were huge. But there's not a teacher that's interested.
The parade was amazing.
Yes.
It turned out very well. The car club.
Okay, Councilor Campion.
All I got that is just, well, through my, SPAB.
Intermunicipal SDAB.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I
That
got
one.
get to sit on a board I'm sitting on now on an issue where, Tommy Painter, we will be finishing up in the morning. It's the first one I've sat on. I found it very interesting so far. Yeah.
Mr. Wallace is commenting.
Yes, Mr. Wallace is the chair.
Yeah, he's done 2 now since he's been
Yeah.
trained. So.
Yeah. Kind of interesting. Other than that, I think everything is all I had in there. You mentioned the barbecue in there. You say that, the water plant guy told me that the loins are too damn expensive. We might do some ribs or a roast. I said, come on. We got X many mil in the bank. Get them.
Get the good steak.
Get the steaks back, yeah.
Well, on that note, I was in Preston visiting my dad on the weekend. We went to buy 4 ribeye steaks. So $100 for 4 ribeye steaks. We didn't buy them. Just crazy.
At the
You might as well
store
buy
or in the
2.
restaurant?
In the store.
Uncooked.
That same price as 10 2x4s with the 2x4s. No, kidding. But the 2x4s will last you probably 20 years.
They don't taste as good though.
If you were a beaver, you'd have a different attitude.
Okay,
Not that.
okay. Any questions for Councilor Campion? Okay, thank you for that. And my report was nothing. And I think that's the first that I've never had. I didn't have any. So it's okay. Any questions for me? Fantastic. I would entertain a motion the council accepts the council reports for your commission. Councilor Campion, all in favor? That is carried. That takes us to correspondence items. I'll just kind of read the title and just stop me if you want to make a comment or for a question. 12.1 Municipal Affairs 2021 Federal Gas Tax. 12.2 Municipal Affairs Invitation to meet the Minister at the 2021 AOMA Convention. 12.3 Special Areas Board Letter to Minister Dreeshen, Agriculture Disaster. 12.4 Alberta Police Interim Advisory Board Quarterly Update. 12.5 Prairie Land Pride Newsletter, Volume 6 from June. 12.6 Municipal Climate Change Action Center 2020 Impact Report. 12.7 MCCAC LED grant, lighting grant Centennial Place, and 12.8 MCCAC LED lighting grant and Agri Sports Complex. 12.9 Cactus Corridor newsletter, for July 2021. 12.10 Town of Clarestone letter to Municipal Affairs regarding code of conduct. 12.11 Alberta Health Services Linen Transition Plan. 12.12 goes as passed subject to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau opposing Bill C-21. 12.13 Town of Rocky Mountain House letter to Minister of Environment and Parks Jason Nixon cancellation of hazardous or household hazardous waste funding. 12.12 Town of Rocky Mountain House letter to Minister of Infrastructure cancellation of household hazardous waste funding. 12.15 Village of Caroline residential school improvement proclamation for June 21. 12.16 Town of Clarestone letter to Premier Kenny RCMP retro pay concerns. 12.17 Big Lakes County RCMP letter of support. Yes.
Well, I just have a question. The Minister of Agriculture was here. Can you share what was discussed since you were not able to attend?
Yeah, I don't know, Councillor Bowden, I don't know if there was much discussed in general. There was no announcements or no proclamations or anything. There was just a discussion in regards to how things were going out here and if there was anything that the ministry could do to help facilitate, whether it's economic development through added food value, or if there's anything that we thought that could be added in that regard. It was, it was unfortunately shorter than it was supposed to be, just traveling and timing, but there wasn't anything really of any substance that I can recall that was discussed at the meeting, so.
I just have a comment that, I think we all had been supportive of Alberta or of agriculture, or that was one of our mandates and everything. And, I think that each one of us pick up something different from somebody doing a presentation or whatever. That it's kind of disappointing that council wasn't invited. Even just to sit and listen to what he had to say. We all have family that are somewhat related or have something to do with agriculture. And given that it's the extraordinary situation we're in, I think council should have at least been given an invitation.
And I think just to speak to that is it's usually from the ministry that they only invite. And that's just from my experience. I don't know, I didn't see the invitation, so I can't speak for sure, but generally that's.
That was my understanding, Mr. Mayor. They reached out, Nate's office had them organize meetings through the business hub. So the business hub sent out the invitations based on the ministry's recommendations. My understanding was the minister, it wasn't a meeting or a presentation, it was just, I'm out and about, it's a chance to just see how things are going, if there's anything we can chat about. And it was, we were told, or Business Hub was told specifically that it was to be limited in terms of numbers, because the more people you have, the different venue you need, the more chance for dialogue increases and you don't get through what you want to do. I did ask if I should extend the invitation to the rest of council, and was basically told that they wanted to reduce the numbers. So from the town's perspective, it was the mayor and myself. I don't know from special areas. I know the only person in attendance from special areas was Jordan. I don't know if his board was invited, but Jordan was the only representative there. There was a representative from the Chamber of Commerce there, and a couple of members of the hub, and I think there was 7 or 8 people around.
Councilor Rowan, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. But that usually is from the minister. Jim.
Well, even just to, and not all of us would have been able to attend, I'm sure, and just to, to me, I think it's an insult that we aren't at least given some courtesy from the hub to at least be invited.
But I don't
If
think you
the
I don't think you
minister
push
is
point
their
fingers at the
decision.
hub.
I don't think it was their
It's not
their
the hub's
decision.
Yeah, well, it's just disappointing when the Learning Center, the hub, and, some others that.
So on a little bit of that vein, the letter from the Minister of Municipal Affairs. So we need to respond by September 10th. It's a really tough predicament because I don't know if.
For meeting them.
Yeah, for meeting the minister at AUMA. I don't at this point in time know who's gonna be on council. I don't know whether any of the, if it's a new council, will be in attendance. But if there was something that stuck out in your mind that we
I would
should,
say you absolutely in a meeting.
okay, and then that probably forces council's hands, new council's hands in terms of then having to be there, whether they weren't expecting to be there or didn't want to be there, so.
I would absolutely.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, and the other one I just wanted to mention, the MCCAC grant. So that was to replace all the lighting in the arena, curling rink, pool, and Centennial Place. So we got, at the end of the day through that program, it was a long, drawn out process and program, but we recovered about 75% of the capital cost of that changeover. So it's a good program. It's just very bureaucratic and challenging to move through. So we will be exploring with them moving forward with another initiative at the arena in terms of they call it real ice, but it's a process that allows you to use cold water for your floods, and when you make the water, it takes the minerals out or whatever. And there's been a little bit of early on concern about whether the ice was as good, but seems to be working out, and a number of arenas are switching to that. It basically saves them heating all of that water.
If you want, I have an RO unit at the store that takes it all the minerals. We'll make that for you. You just gotta give us a heads up. We gotta start now. We'll start bottling it.
So again, that fits under this program as well. So it's something we're investigating. So I was pleased. I was really happy to get the lights changed out, especially the ones in the arena over the ice. And again, to be able to do it at 25 dollars was good. So it's good.
Fantastic. Okay, now I'll entertain a motion to council. First one, items 12.01 to 12.17 for information period. Council voting. All in favor? That is carried. All right, with that, was this something that we're going to share with?
You can share it if you want, Mr. Mayor. I didn't put it in correspondence because of all of the errors in it. So
It's hard to understand. All right, so with that, I would entertain a motion to go to closed session. Councilor Wilson, all in favor?
see ya.
And that
See you,
is
Councilor.
carried. Bye, Mr. Moore. And hey,
Come
it's-
from-
Lori can get you back.